Hello, everybody. We are back. Welcome back to 2022. It's 3 months in, but almost 3 months in. But Happy New Year, I guess, is probably what we should be saying. We've already spoken to you in 2022 because we were very lazy and had a long Christmas before we reacted to the 2021 season and looked back at our predictions. But we're all back for the Variable F1 Lights Out podcast. I'm joined as usual by Joshua Fletcher and the two Callums, Callum O and Callum McAvoy. Hello to you all. We'll get to you guys in just a moment. But yeah, 2022 is here. We've seen Formula One cars on track for the first time in 2022. So we're going to have a little chat about that. And then obviously all the Formula One cars have been revealed. Their liveries are all out. We know what they all look like. So we're going to have a look through those and kind of give a ranking and see what we think of all the different liveries and how they rank against each other, just as a bit of fun to start off the season. And obviously we've got testing in Bahrain in a few weeks' time. And after that, the predictions episode will be out. There is no doubt about that. Looking forward to that one. And I definitely don't want to be making as much of a fool of myself as I did last year. But Joshua, let's just come to you. It's been a long winter, it seems to have felt like. It seems, it was January we did our reaction podcast to our predictions, and that feels like ages ago. How's your winter been without Formula One?
Yeah, it's been difficult. Obviously, I think good to have a break after all that drama. Get back into football, and then now we're blessed with a Sky Sports documentary and Drive to Survive within the matter of days of each other. So a lot of F1 content before the season, then testing, and then back into it for the start of the new season. So a lot of F1 content to come.
Absolutely. And Callum M, let's throw it over to you. I assume you've had a look at some of the content that's been put out from the first official track session, as they were calling it. The pre-season test is the one in Bahrain. We're just going to call it a test anyway. Callum M, from what you've seen in Barcelona, what do you think? What are your first impressions of these 2022 Formula One cars?
I mean, I couldn't get much of a first impression because for some reason they decided not to show it on TV, which was greatly annoying. But no, I mean, it's who knows what to expect. I think all the cars look good. I mean, we'll debate the liveries later, but the actual look of the cars itself, I think I like it. And I'm just not too surprised by what we saw in testing. You can't really judge, but you saw Mercedes at the top again, McLaren, Ferrari, Red Bull all up there. So no, not any real surprises, but we won't know for sure until Bahrain. So.
And Callum O, how's your winter been? Have you managed to put everything behind you and are you looking forward to this new era of Formula One that we're about to get going on?
Yeah, I think that the disaster of an ending to the last era of Formula One should just be left behind us now. I'm looking forward to 2022. There's a lot of good things being said about the cars. So people like Charles Leclerc coming out and said it is easier to follow other cars, which is always what the aim was. So I'm happy with that and looking forward to the new season.
Yeah, and it was also obviously seeing all the liveries in all the dramatic, overly dramatic launch shows that we saw from pretty much every single one of the teams. It seemed to just keep us waiting for as long as possible as well in every single one of the launches. I think the Mercedes one, I think the whole launch was about an hour long, and it was about 45 minutes into the launch before we actually got to see the car, which was a little bit strange. But anyway, all the liveries are out. To me, these cars straight away look a little bit like Formula 2 cars. That's probably the first thing that I can see. Obviously, a lot more technical, and there's a lot more on them than Formula 2 cars. But I'm going to throw it over to Callum M, who's going to take us through. We're going to have a look through the liveries and see what we think of them. So, Callum M, it's over to you.
Yeah, cheers for that, Matt. So basically, this is how it's going to work. We have all done an individual ranking, listing all the cars from best to worst. I have managed to sort of combine these lists, and we have sort of one overall Varvel list, and we will run through all the teams from worst to best. It's safe to say there was a lot of division, and we'll get into that a bit later on. Quick disclaimer. In terms of Haas, obviously they launched a livery at the very beginning. However, that has since changed because of the whole Russia-Ukraine situation, which we'll go into a little bit more detail later on. So we have gone with the kind of bland plain livery that they used in the last few days of testing because we think that's what it's going to look like in Bahrain, but we're not entirely sure. It'll probably change completely by the time we get there. But, we're going with what we can at the moment. So let's get straight into this then. And in last place, and perhaps not too surprising, is Williams. Now, what's quite interesting about this is that none of us put Williams last in our individual rankings. But because of the divisive nature of all the other cars, it's managed to find itself at the bottom anyway. Matt, you ranked Williams 8th, so you were the most generous out of all of us. Why do you hate this car so much?
I don't know. I hate it. It's just a bit boring. It's just a dark blue car to me. I don't see anything that kind of stands out. I don't know. It just feels like there's something missing from it. It's just like the dark blue and the black. It just doesn't look that exciting. I wasn't a fan of the Williams livery last year, whereas I think it was their 2019 livery I really liked, where I think they had the blue that faded into the white, or the white that kind of faded into the blue. I thought that looked quite good. Whereas this one, I think the dark blue, I think is it's just a bit boring. The sponsors are all really boring on it as well. Like, it's just got Lavazza, Duracell, and door whatever that says on it. It's just a bit boring. So that's why it did in my estimations.
Yeah. Josh, like myself and Callum O, you ranked this 9th. If you could improve the livery in any way, what would you do to it?
Oh, that's a true. It is just boring. It's a weird sort of dark at the bottom and then a bit of blue patterning. I think, maybe some white in there as well. Just blend it, make it a bit more flowy. It just, I don't know. It feels like a bit choppy, like you're on the seas. I don't know. It's not great, is it? Just simply, it's not good.
No, it just doesn't stand out at all, as Matt was saying. Callum O, and I'll ask you quickly. You obviously see people make their own renders of what F1 cars could look like. And I remember seeing someone making like a retro Williams one, like from like the 80s and 90s, those kind of colors. Would you like to see something like that in the future from Williams?
Yeah, I saw a nice idea. It was a remake of the 1980 Williams car, which of course was their first world championship with Alan Jones, sort of as a tribute to Frank Williams, obviously passed away last year. And honestly, would have been an improvement on this, and there would have been some sentiment behind it. So I think that's definitely something they could have looked to have done. Sorry.
Right, so we'll move on to the next place team, and that was the aforementioned Haas team. Myself and Callum Owen both put this last. We both just really hated it. So I'll go straight back to you, Callum Owen. Yeah, why do you hate the Haas car so much?
It's not that I hate it. I hate it when it has the Russian flag on it, just because I don't think it looks nice. But I don't know. It's like, I'm looking at it now, and it's nice. It's fine, but it's nothing more than that. It's just remarkably plain.
Yeah, you want kind of F1 cars to like stand out now, and this just doesn't really. I guess. However, that is not the opinion of one Joshua, who put perhaps 4th on his list. Explain yourself, sir.
I really like just the black and white. I think it looks quite cool. Looking at it now, the photo we have, it sort of looks like a canoe. But I still quite like it. I think it's a lot better than some of the ones we've got on here. But yeah, it's simple, but it's effectively simple. The black and white contrast really works. I think it does stand out. You look at that, you see zooms of black and white going past you. It's like, oh wow, rather than just some boring blue. But I accept that I'm the controversial one on here. So I'm not surprised to hear it's so far low.
I mean, it is inoffensive. Like, it's not like you can't really hate it, unlike certain other liveries, which we'll get to very soon, I'm sure. Matt, just a quick note away from the livery chat, obviously with what is happening with Russia and Ukraine at the moment. Do you think Nikita Mazepin will be there in Bahrain racing for Haas?
No, I'd like him to be, but I don't think he will. I think that with what we've seen, football, we've seen loads of bans. I think Russia won't be in the World Cup this year. Russian teams have been thrown out of UEFA and FIFA competitions. Obviously, we know why they're being banned. It's because obviously that the reputation the country now has because of the situation in Ukraine. But obviously, you can see how it's unfair on the Russian athletes who, for me, unless Mazepin comes out and says what Putin is doing is great, which obviously it isn't, I don't see why we should be banning him. I think it's obviously the reputation of Russia is obviously why he might not be competing in Bahrain. So for me, I think it would be okay. I wouldn't be too bothered by it if he there. Obviously, really distressing scenes that we've seen over there and unacceptable scenes that we've seen over there. I'm sure we'll all agree on that. But in terms of Mazepin being there, it wouldn't surprise me if he wasn't in Bahrain.
Yeah, obviously a very tricky situation and a decision yet to be made on that. Of course, we have to wait and see what happens. Moving on with our list, and I'm really saddened to have to say this, but in 8th place it's Alfa Romeo. Now, I have to admit, I had this third on my list. I absolutely love this car. More or less the same as last year, but they put a ton of red at the front, which I love, and the wheel arches as well, the kind of white and red they've got. Really, really nice. Everyone else seems to disagree, though. Everyone else has got it in the bottom half of their lists. Most notably, Matt in 9th place, only just better than. I won't spoil what your last place is, but what's not to like about this Alfa?
I don't know. It's just a bit boring. It's too similar to the last few years as well. Ever since they changed from being Sauber to Alfa Romeo, they've kind of always just stuck with this very samey red and white livery. There's a picture here that I've got up in front of me at the back of it, of the rear wing. Quite like the fact that it's got the Italian flag, it's got the green, and it's got Alfa Romeo with kind of red over the white, and then the other, obviously the red bit of the Italian flag. That does look quite nice. But it's just, for me, it's too similar to the other ones. And I know I'm really contradicting myself because there's a team coming up whose car is pretty much exactly the same every year. A certain dark blue team with a Dutch driver that I've got quite high up on the list because I do quite like their livery. But for me, it doesn't offend me, but it's just too similar to past liveries for me.
Yeah, like Callum O, would you say that the teams are under pressure to, change the livery every season? But then there's also an argument of if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Where do you think Alfa Romeo should go in the future then?
See, I quite like the livery. Like, I was pleasantly surprised by it because I don't usually like the Alfa Romeo liveries. I think it was a big enough change because obviously I think it's never going to be anything other than red and white while it's Alfa Romeo because that's their brand colours. They're not going to make it any other colour because it'd be silly. But I think changing the design yearly is nice. It keeps it fresh, and I think Red Bull and maybe obviously Ferrari are the only teams that can get away with doing the same thing every year. I'm not too sure why that is. Ferrari, obviously, you can sort of tell. I don't know why Red Bull, it's just sort of been accepted they can do the same thing every year. But I don't know. I personally wouldn't change a lot about the Alfa Romeo. I think it's really nice.
Yeah, and Joshua, on the final, the wheel covers are a big theme in these new cars. Yeah, Alfa Romeo, along with McLaren, are the only teams that have really taken advantage of that, with adding some colour to it. Do you want to see more teams adding colour to the wheel covers?
Yeah, I guess. I think if there's a bit more fun to be had there, you can probably get away with it with the fact that they're the least visible part of it. So you could have had it there, sort of spruce it up with a bit of colours, maybe the Italian flag on there as well. Just make it brand. But yeah, if there's the opportunity to have some fun with it, I don't know why teams wouldn't, personally.
Yeah. And speaking of McLaren, they are next on the list in 7th place. Now, of all the teams, this is easily the most divisive. I put McLaren 5th on my list. Callum Owen, you put them 8th. Joshua, you had them at number 1. And Matt, I cannot believe this, dead last for Matt. Let's start with yourself, Matt.
Wow.
So, what is happening?
I hate it. Just on the Alfa as well. I think those wheel covers do look quite cool with the red and white. That will look good. But yeah, the McLaren, I hate it. It's just, we saw that alternative Golf livery in Monaco last year, which looked good. I liked that. If they'd have brought that in for this year, I would have 100% backed it. I hate it. I think it's the black that does it for me. I just don't think that works. It's thick black lines between the orange and blue. And it just, yeah, on track, it looked awful as well, I thought. I don't like the light blue rear wing either. I think a McLaren should just be orange, not orange, light blue and black. It's just awful. I hate it.
I mean, I agree with you to an extent. Like, I do love the Golf theme for, and I think we all did in Monaco. And obviously, they are leaning into that. It does lack refinement, though, and perhaps they'll improve it upon next year. But
I think this is a love or hate one as well.
Yeah,
I think you're going to love this one or hate it, and that's quite clear.
Yeah, well, let's talk about the love, Joshua. Obviously, you had it at number one. Why is Matt wrong, basically?
I'm shocked to hear that. I think it looks really smart. I get it, but I think I think it looks really good. The black to define it, sort of separation. I think, if you'd have had it without the black, people would have just said, "Oh, you knew everyone loved the Golf one, and you've changed it a bit for like the whole season and the odd pandering." I really like it. I think it's really smart. I think it does depend on the angle you see of it. I think on some angles, it might look a bit tame. Others, it really pops. I think it really stands out. And for me, it was the easiest one to put up there. I genuinely think it was the easiest. That was my easiest ranking, putting it at number one. I get it's divisive.
Wow.
I get it's divisive because it's people like traditionalists. I think it breaks the mold. I think it's really smart. And the orange trimmed wheel covers, yeah, I really like it. It's my favourite one. It's my favourite car design for a main car for a long, long time.
What?
Bold statement from Josh.
For a long time.
It's terrible.
No,
it's so bad.
Callum Owen, come in here. Sort this mess out for us, please.
I don't want to. Don't want to get caught in the middle of it. No, I get sort of McLaren have given themselves enough rope to hang themselves, which is a bit of a depressing statement, but the Golf livery for Monaco was so nice. Genuinely one of my favourite cars ever. And what they've tried to do here is expand on that, but just done it wrong. Because obviously, I don't think Golf sponsorship hasn't gone up, so there's no need for them to add the blue. They're adding the blue because they want to add the blue. And the photo I've got here, admittedly, makes it look a bit nicer, but I just think they've done it wrong. I agree. I don't think the black's great. I think the blue's a bit too light. I have this weird thing as well. The numbers, the font that the numbers are written in is really, really soft. It looks like bubble writing, which is actually the biggest problem I've got with the car. I don't know. I can see why you'd like it. I can see why you'd hate it. Just think they've gone for something and done it wrong.
Yeah, I'm loving the attention to detail you're bringing with the font of the numbering.
It's horrible. Genuinely, I don't know how to,
we love.
I don't know how else to describe it, and it really, seriously wound me up. It's too soft. It's like bubble writing.
Well, I feel we should move on before an all-out fight breaks out on the chat, although that would be very entertaining, I'm sure. So next on the list, and there was actually a tie between these two, but I put this one lower. Red Bull. Now, again, quite divisive here. I mean, we've all kind of, Joshua, myself, and Callum O, we kind of put it in the middle. Matt has obviously put it as his third favourite again.
Oh, shock there.
It is. Yeah. A note on Red Bull, they do have a new title partner sponsor this year, Oracle, which I don't know if it's going to work out, because the last time they had a title sponsor, it was Aston Martin, and they kind of jumped ship quite quickly. Before that, they had Infinity, and that didn't work out either. So I don't expect Oracle to last very long. But anyhow, Matt, I'll hand it over to you first. It's the same livery, but it is quite a nice livery, isn't it?
It's classic Red Bull. I mean, if you had to take last year's livery and put it on this year's car, it is exactly the same, just with the change of the sponsor. I think the Oracle looks quite nice. I think the way that they seem to have done their side pods as well this year makes it look even better. It's just clean. It looks nice. And just to annoy Joshua that little bit more, that number 1 looks much better than the number 33 on it as well. I think in general, in terms of with the numbers that Josh mentioned, the 33s, I think kind of toward the numbers towards the rear wing, that they all seem too small this year in general. I can't see how you'd be able to spot those numbers trackside. But obviously you'd be able to spot the number 1 quite easily because they'll usually be at the front, miles ahead of everybody else. Anyway, I just think it's a nice classic Red Bull livery, and to have kind of like a bit more of a reflective kind of blue, but now it's kind of much darker, and I don't know what the technical term is. I'm not, I don't know anything about this sort of stuff, but it just looks nice. It's a nice clean Red Bull, not good enough to be my favourite, but better than most of the others.
Yeah, I mean, you say the number 1 looks good. I think the 11 of Sergio Perez looks much better. But, that's just my opinion. Josh, yeah, it is the same car, but, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, or not in your case, I guess.
I'm just so bored of it. Like, it's just boring. It really is. And I'm going to contradict myself later on with one of mine about using sort of similar cars at the same. But it's like I know that like the Red Bull were named after another company, as they all are, and they have to protect that sort of institution and brand recognition stuff. But they have so much potential, and it's just the same thing again and again and again. And it's a new era. Go and have a bit of fun with it. Go and put I don't know. It feels way too corporate. It just feels they're pandering to the drinks brand rather than going off. And I don't know. I think the number 1 looks a bit rubbish, to be honest. It's just the font's a bit squeezed in. It's a bit narrow. It's a bit
wise. So man who looks at fonts.
I don't know, but in all seriousness, yeah, I don't know. I had it 7th. We've put it 7th as a collective. I think that's about right for it. But go on, have a bit of fun with it. Just don't be so boring.
Yeah. Just to clarify, we've actually got it 6th as a collective, but yes, close enough.
I thought you said 7th. Okay.
No, sorry, 6th. I'll do the full list at the end again, just in case I missed anything. Yeah. Callum O, very quickly. Obviously, we talked about kind of retro liveries before. Red Bull obviously have had just 1 livery, so we can't really do that. It did dawn on me though, it's coming up in a few years' time. It's like their 20th anniversary of being in F1 or being as a team in F1. Do you think we could see something radically different then, or are they just going to keep it the same for all time until this runs out?
Just because it's Red Bull, no. I like the Red Bull's nice. It's just a solid car. It would be higher if I didn't think a lot of the other cars were nice. But no, I think it's because it is so committed to the brand. It'll always be that sort of colour.
Yeah, no, fair enough. And then coming in at 5th,
black and white, the black and white livery they ran at one point recently, I think was quite nice.
I was just thinking that. Yeah.
I think that's a lot nicer than just the very corporate blue, red, yellow balls. Like I think the red and black and white was a lot nicer.
Well, Red Bull championship winning.
It didn't. No, I'm not getting into it.
We'll have to change the structure of the podcast next year. Callum will have to host it. I mean, Josh could have these debates.
I've heard the word corporate so many times. I'm just thinking of The Office now, and that meme of corporate needs to find the difference between these 2 photos. It's just 2 Red Bulls. Coming in 5th place, it actually tied with Red Bull, but I just put it slightly higher because I think it's personally a nicer livery. It's Alpha Tauri. Again, this was a very divisive entry on all of our lists. Myself, I had it down in 7th. Callum Owen had it 4th. Matt had it 2nd, and Joshua, you had it dead last. Josh, I'll have to come to you here. Why do you hate Alpha Tauri?
Great.
God, this isn't really showing that we will actually get along really well, is it? It's rubbish. It's so rubbish. I know, again, I'm probably in the minority. I can't tell you one good thing about it. It's a washed out blue. I think it's by far and away the worst on the grid, like far and away worst on the grid. It just seems all a bit washed out. It seems like something you'd make sort of doing concept stuff in school. Like when I used to make like football kits and shit in school, it's something if I was doing F1 cars, I'd make, because I have no understanding of like graphic design. It's rubbish.
I mean, what they've essentially done with this car is they basically Uno swap card reversed it. You know, what was white last year is now blue. What was blue is now white, and it just doesn't look as good, I don't think. And you say it is a bit of a, it doesn't pop as much as last time. Matt, obviously, you completely disagree. Second place, talk us through that.
I think the AlphaTauri looks much better on track.
Quickly, it's remarkable how much Matt and Josh disagree.
It's amazing. I love it.
Sorry, I interrupted.
Oh dear. Yeah. No worries. I don't know. It just looked better on track. Admittedly, the pictures don't look great, but I really liked how it looked on track. I think ever since AlphaTauri moved away from Toro Rosso, their cars have looked much better as their own brand. It doesn't feel now like they're Red Bull's second team. For me, I don't sit there and think AlphaTauri, a Red Bull second team. Obviously, there's the Red Bull kind of bull on it. But you looked at Toro Rosso, you just thought that's just, Red Bull's B team. Whereas now you look at AlphaTauri, they've got your own unique livery. Maybe, I don't know, set a little bit high, maybe swap it with the Red Bull possibly, or maybe even put it fourth behind the team I've got in fourth. But I do think it looks quite nice. I like usually if I'm playing a mate on the F1 game or whatever, I'll probably choose the AlphaTauri in recent years because I quite like the livery. This website that I'm on says it's AlphaTauri win the world's least offensive livery, navy and white, absolutely fine. And it says this is about as safe as a spaghetti bolognese for Saturday night's dinner party. So I suppose that's kind of fair enough. But yeah, I just think it's quite nice and clean, and it looks good on track as well.
Yeah. And Callum, Owen, anything to add to this?
It pains me to have only put it fourth because I do really, really like it. I think it just sort of just shows how good deliveries are this year. I disagree with every word that came out of Josh's mouth. Like I'm looking at it now and I can't see how he's got there. But no, I think it's really nice. I think it should be higher than fifth.
Well, that's fair enough. I'll say this: I would have bumped it up a few places if they'd put white wheels on it. And there is still time.
Yes.
If you're listening, chuck white wheel covers on it, and you're going up to number one. That
might change it from 10th to 9th for me. Maybe it will be an improvement.
I also love the fact that there's people that get paid ridiculous amounts of money each year to design something that Joshua described as something he would do when he had no idea of graphic design when he was at school.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
Oh dear. Moving on to fourth place, and that is Mercedes. Now, Mercedes, obviously, the last couple of years have had the black livery, which has looked really, really nice, but they've gone back to mostly silver. There is a bit of black and green and a bit of red as well. It's a bit of a mismatch of different things they've tried on cars in the past. And on the whole, it kind of works, I think. We'll go to Josh first. You put it third, the highest of any of us on the list. What do you like about it then?
I did prefer the black they've ran in the last 2 years. I think it looked a lot smarter, a lot cleaner. But again, it sort of feels like vintage Mercedes again. I really like sort of the way they've done the sponsors with it. I really like I like the red for the ESOS, the Petronas. I just like it. I think the three colours work well. They're all very different. So the little green strip pops. I think it's really smart. It's not the best on the grid we've seen, definitely not. But it is what it is. I think it's nice, and it's gonna win the double again this season.
We'll have to wait and see. Matt, you were the lowest on this one. You had it at 6, which is still okay, I guess. Is there a bit too much going on for you?
I quite like it. I was quite pleased to see the kind of classic Mercedes back. I did like the black. Don't get me wrong, and we obviously all know the reasons why it's been black for the last 2 years as well. I did like the black, but for me, a Mercedes is silver and should be silver, and I was quite glad to see that back. For me, it's kind of with the black, it's kind of like all good things must come to an end kind of thing. And I think I obviously like the little bit of kind of, I can't really tell what colour that is. It's kind of like a greeny blue sort of colour, that little kind of down the side. I also like the fact they're keeping the black race suits and black kind of team much for this year as well, which I think looks better than the white as well. But yeah, I think it's just kind of like, it's just an average Mercedes. It's what you'd expect Mercedes to look like. And I don't like the way Petronas is done on the rear wing either. I think recently they've done that with they've done it in white letters, but this year it's got the blue with the black letters. I'm not really a massive fan of that. I don't think that looks great. But yeah, it's just a classic Mercedes. It's fine. That's all I can say about it. It's just fine and nice to see the silver back.
Yeah. And Callum O, there's a lot of sponsors on this, a lot of names. Obviously, Petronas we've mentioned as well. How do the fonts on this car stack up compared to the rest?
Oh, nothing to complain about, really. It's like with the black car. I thought 2020 it was nice. 2021, not as bored of it. I prefer it as a silver car. Just think silver arrows. I just think prime Mercedes in silver. I think it's nice. I think it really suits the new design of just the 2022 car in general. It just suits that. And yeah, I had it 5th, and maybe it could have been higher. It is a little bit simple, a little bit safe, which is sometimes nice, but was counted against it here. But I think it's just a very nice car.
Can I just say, I think quickly, the font of the numbers is really smart. I really like how they've done that. It looks, the 44, the black on the, yeah, very smart.
Yeah, it's good. I'll give him that.
Yeah,
I agree.
I certainly hope you're not mentioning that just because you're a Hamilton fanboy, Josh.
No. I think the image I've got up in front of me is of the 44, but I think the black resonates well. It sort of contrasts with the silver. Very, very smart, and it's a better font.
What would the number 1 look like on there?
Again, I think it would look really good because I think the car design's a lot better than Red Bull. But we've had so many number 1s on Mercedes and Lewis's car for a while. I think it's only fair that someone gets to use it for a year, and then we can see 44 stay on there again.
Yeah. Not going to add there. I'm not going to add fuel to the fire there. Okay, into the top 3 now. In 3rd place, and I cannot believe it's 3rd because I hate this car, Alpine. I'm sorry, I have to rant here. This is a monstrosity. Now, last season, here's the thing. I like the blue. I like the Alpine blue. I liked it last season. I like it this season. I like the BWT pink. That's their new sponsor for this season. Obviously, they used to do the Racing Point and Aston Martin. I like the pink. I hate them together. It looks horrible together. There's a monstrosity of a car. It should be noted they are going to run an all pink livery for the first 2 races of the season. Then they'll go to this blue and pink one. But honestly, this is horrible. I have it 8th on my list. But for some reason, Matt, this is your number 1.
No, you're...
I love it. I think it's really nice. I don't know. I've kind of got a weird affection for pink. I don't know why. I just like pink as a color. Whenever I'm on FIFA playing pro clubs designing a kit, I'll usually make a pink kit for some reason. So yeah, I like it. I think I'm looking forward to seeing how many times Ted Kravitz mistakes this Alpine for Force India or a Racing Point when it runs the all pink livery, which looks even better, by the way. I do prefer the all pink, to be fair. I think that's probably why I put it top. If that all pink livery didn't exist, I'd probably put it second. But we are going to see the all pink livery, so it goes first for me. And yeah, I think it just works for me. I'm not sure about the little red. There's a little red sponsor kind of between the tyre and where the driver sits, which isn't great. But yeah, I think the BWT work. I just think it just looks nice, and on track it looked all right as well this week.
Yeah, Callum O, and you put it third. You're clearly in this fan club as well. Please explain yourself, because I really can't. I like the pink. I just don't like it with the blue. Like, please tell me why I'm wrong.
When I first saw it, I may have claimed it was my favourite car. I've cooled down a bit on that since. It's just nice. The blue's nice, the pink's nice. You put it together, it's just nice. And I really isn't a lot more to it than I just think it's really nice to look at. Which for a livery is probably, I can talk about fonts all I want. If it's not nice to look at, then what's the point? And I really like it.
Oh dear. Josh, say something logical here for me. You had it fifth, so you're not much better, but go for it.
Well, I hated it when I first saw it. I really didn't like it. I didn't understand. I didn't like it. The more I look at it, and I think seeing a different picture than what I judged it on, I think it looks a lot better. I don't know. I think it's smart. I think the darker blue contrasting the pink and it's an all right car. I think for me it's just something different. We haven't seen such a different looking car, and a good looking different car for a while. So there's nothing really to complain about. It's all right. It will stand out. It'll be exciting to watch. It's great for branding and team colours and merchandise. It's inoffensive, really, isn't it?
I mean, it does stand out, which is why I've had it ahead of Williams and Haas, but it stands out for the wrong reasons to me. But I don't know. Maybe when I see it on track a bit more, maybe it will grow on me. Who knows? But anyway, we have now the top two. They were by far and away the top two.
Were they really?
As well. Well, ish, I guess.
I'm shocked by one of them.
But in second place, we have Aston Martin.
It's better of two.
Now, we were quite divided on this. Myself and Callum O, we had in our top two. Callum O and you had at the very top. Josh and Matt, you weren't so keen there. You had it. You had it fifth and sixth. Yeah. So we'll start with Callum Owen. What was it about the fonts on this car? No, I'm joking. Tell me why you love this car.
Matt and Josh have let themselves down massively here.
No,
because there's nice, beautiful. Like I loved the Aston last year just because it was sort of a new colour for F1, and I liked the pink. And I was worried this year with them losing the BWT pink. I thought it might not look as nice, but it looks so nice. It's like a nice colour. It's clean. You might take the piss. The fonts are really nice, and it does matter. It's just nice all round, and it is a little bit maybe generic to say it was the top one, because I think it got a lot of stuff last year about how it was the top one. It almost became not overrated, but overhyped. But I do think it is just so nice, and I don't know. I can see why it might not be top, like fifth and sixth. I can't believe the time you two have decided to agree is on disliking this. But no, nice car, very nice car.
Yeah, I mean, as I said, I like the BWT pink, but when you take it off, you have that pure green, pure British racing green, classic Aston Martin look. It does just look so nice. I love the grills on the side as well. I know other cars have got that, but it really stands out on this.
It's such a classic.
I love it.
It's one of the
I just hope
parts of it.
What?
It's like looking at a radiator.
It looks good.
No,
it looks nice.
I'm sorry.
It looks good.
I much prefer the small green strip is a lot nicer. If that was the main colour of the livery, yeah, I'd have it a lot higher. Those little grills looks like a radiator. The charming aspect of it, the part I like the green Aston logo. I like the green strips. I like the green at the box at the back. I think the number at the back, I'm looking at one which I think is Lance's number. I like that. I like the placing of that. Apart from that, no, I think it's horrendous.
I'd also can add, I think the Aston Martin logo is the nicest car logo in existence. So to have that on any car puts it in the top three of anything.
I think that green of the logo and the Aston, it's nowhere near as bad as some of them. So I've got it sixth. But the more I look at it, the more I hate it. I can only now just see a bright green racing radiator.
Oh god.
Yeah, no, not for me.
Matt, we'll come to you. Radiator, yay or nay?
I'm impartial on it. I'm not going to sit here and have a breakdown like Josh, but I'm not going to sit here loving it like Callum. It's fine. Like it's a nice British racing green. Does the lime green replace the pink? Not really. Doesn't really make it much of it. If that was pink, I wouldn't really care. Now that it's lime green, I don't really care. I don't really care about it. It's just it's fine. It's nice to have the green. It was nice to have the green back last year. I probably maybe even disliked it more last year because I wasn't used to seeing British racing green on a Formula One car. For me, that always belonged on kind of GT cars. But yeah, like I said, I'm not as objected to it as Josh is, even though I only put it one place higher in fifth, but I don't love it as much as you two. So yeah, for me, it's fine.
Yeah. Fair enough. And obviously at number one, that leaves Ferrari. This was fair. It won by I don't say it won by a country mile, but in the context of this list, it kind of did, to be honest. I had it at number one. Callum, Owen, and Josh, you had it at number two. And Matt, we'll come straight back to you. You had it in the lowest ranking, but you still had it fourth, which is very, very high. So why is this one not as good as your other top three?
Again, it's kind of my fourth, fifth, and sixth. They're all just fine. Ferrari, Aston Martin, and Mercedes. I don't love them. I don't particularly hate them either. I think it's a classic Ferrari. The only change I would make to it is that black rear wing. I don't think that looks very good. I think I'd go for the classic red and white, or maybe the Italian flag, or something like that. It's also much better. We haven't got that awful green squiggle that it had on the engine cover last year. I don't know if you guys remember that. Now that's gone. I'm delighted. It's got the classic Shell sponsor as well. I don't think we've seen that on a Ferrari for as prominent as it is on a Ferrari for quite a while. I quite like that, the way that's back. It just screams Ferrari. I would change the black about it. I'd make the front wing white instead of black. I'd make the halo white instead of black, and I'd make the rear wing white instead of black, or Italian or something like that. The floor's fine, that can stay as it is, but yeah, it's just a nice classic Ferrari. And like I said, my mid three, my Ferrari, Aston Martin, and Mercedes, fourth, fifth, and sixth, they're all just fine. They're nice. I don't love them. I don't particularly hate them.
Yeah. I've seen some people saying to add the white back because it has a bit more of a retro feel to it. I have to say it's the black that does it for me. This is just a stunning. This is a stunning car. I can't stop looking at it. As you mentioned before, the mission win now is gone. Thank goodness for that. Just such a really random, weird idea that just didn't work, and it's gone, which is great. It just looks mean in a really good way, this car. I just love it. And Callum Owen, clearly you loved it too, to put it at second on your list.
It is nice. But I agree, it's weird. I think the black looks nice, but when the Santander partnership was announced, in my head I was thinking, right, white rear wing. That's quite hard to say. Yeah. Santander all written across the back, and I think that would have been an improvement, and potentially even made it number one. I was annoyed when Aston Martin wasn't number one, but the more I look at the Ferrari, it's just nice. It's classic Ferrari. It's red. I like the the Italian flag on the top is just a nice touch. I think overall it's just a very nice car, and it's fair enough to be number one.
Yeah, and Joshua, you had it second as well, as I mentioned. Is this your favourite Ferrari in a good few years?
Yeah, I think so. It feels like a proper racing car. You look at it and you think it looks. I think probably part of that's Ferrari's heritage. It looks good. It looks mean, as you said. It looks like a proper racing car, and I think it feels right. That's all I can say. I love it. I think the black works really well with it as well. It's good. It's really good. And I don't mind the sponsors. I know there's a lot of them as well, but I like their badge on it. I like the shell. Again, it feels sentimental. Everything about it. I think it oozes class, which I think Ferrari as a brand is used to.
Yeah, the font is a little bit soft.
Oh, no, there had to be one problem. Well, with Ferrari putting in pretty decent testing times, who knows? Maybe this will be at the front of the grid. We'll see it a lot more on camera. We can only hope. But that is our list. I'll run it through one more time. In last place, we had Williams. In 9th, Haas. 8th, Alfa Romeo. 7th, McLaren. 6th, Red Bull. 5th, AlphaTauri. 4th, Mercedes. 3rd, begrudgingly, was Alpine. 2nd, Aston Martin. And number 1, obviously, Ferrari. Any final thoughts on the liveries that we haven't mentioned? I think we've covered virtually everything there was to cover, but anything more
we do the Formula 2 liveries? We do the Formula 2 liveries next week, and then the Formula 3 liveries the week after.
I am shocked by
the W series the week after that.
I am shocked. I am shocked at some of them. Genuinely shocked at some of them. But I think that's good. I think that's the beauty of it, that we all were fans of the same sport, but we cannot have such passionate and different opinions on everything to do with it. And we'll put out our final table. We'll put out our own individual thoughts and opinions, and we'll hopefully let the 5 of you listening tell us what you think, and make sure you give us your rankings for them, and see how they compare to all of us.
I mean, the most ridiculous thing is the liveries have got absolutely nothing to do with how the car performs. Yeah. They've got nothing to do with kind of anything in the season. It's just kind of how they look. But I guess that's what it's all about.
I think that's the irony as well. We've been doing this for a year, and I've not seen a more passionate debate than today. And it has literally zero relevance.
After everything that happened.
We had a whole year of Lewis Hamilton versus Max Verstappen, the crash at Silverstone, Saudi Arabia, Abu Dhabi, and it was this that's broken us.
This is what happens. This is what happens when you put me in charge. I just let the kids run through. But I will hand over to Matt to do. I will hand over to Matt to do the outro on this.
Yeah. Cool. Well, yeah, I think that was a good laugh and a good way to start 2022 in Formula One. And I think we've got to get serious from now on, gentlemen. We've got to get our heads down and think properly and talk properly. But some good fun there. And thank you, obviously, Callum M. That was all your ideas. So thank you very much for coming up with that. And it was good fun. And like we said, we'll be back next week with the Formula 2 liveries. So yeah, really good fun.
That's not a promise, by the way. That's definitely not a promise.
Good stuff. Good stuff. So yeah,
if you want that, go to his Twitter. We have no part.
So yeah, thank you very much to everyone that's listened. The aim this year is to get more people listening, get more people involved, get your interaction as well. And we're obviously going to have a little chat once we finish this about what we're going to do this season as well, I think. So yeah, thank you very much for listening. Thank you, Callum, for your idea. And just in a couple of weeks, we'll be back with our predictions podcast. We've got a few days of our testing that I'm sure will be absolutely too, and then we'll be back with a predictions pod, which will no doubt have plenty of debate, I'm sure, because it looks like this season it may not be as easy to put everybody where we think they're going to be compared to certainly the last kind of 7 or 8 years. So yeah, that's going to be an interesting listen, and I'm sure me and Callum will agree each other again like we did last year, and me and Josh will disagree like we have just now. So yeah, thanks very much everybody for listening. Really enjoyed that. Thank you to you three as well for joining us. And yeah, we'll see you all in a couple of weeks before Bahrain.